Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of my Let's Play A Perfect Final Fantasy VII. Where we last left off was we obtained 99 iron bangles from this grind session, and we are now ready to progress with the story. So we are going to head back over here, and we're going to jump on the train. I did always love how Barrett swears in special characters. So we're not going to be able to use our fake IDs anymore. So before we move forward, one thing just to kind of take a mental note of is this gentleman that's laying down in the back right of this car. We're going to come back and talk to him in just a moment. First, we need to come up here and talk to Tifa. So as we move throughout these cars, we're going to be going through a sequence of a timer that is pretty narrow. It's, 15 or less seconds that we have to do certain things. So it's pretty simple, though. You do have ample time within that. So what's going to happen is it's going to put a timer up on screen, and we're going to need to move to the next car. What we're going to do is we're going to quickly run back and talk to that man that's laying down. And he'll give us an item for doing so. So he gave us a Phoenix down, and then we'll go ahead and progress to the next car. In this car, there's a gentleman in the bottom left that's kind of covered by Biggs now. We're going to talk to him, and we'll have to say, yeah, and he'll give us a high potion. So we'll say, yeah. And then we'll go ahead and move to the next screen. Now this screen actually has a trick, so I'll go ahead and explain this. Once the red security alert comes back on screen, you're actually going to want to wait before you progress and clear the text on screen. So I'm going to position myself behind Barrett here. The gentleman's going to start walking down here. We're going to wait. Now as we pass this guy, he's going to pick our pockets and steal an item, if you have a specific item or enough money. So in this case, he didn't. If he did, you would have to run back and talk to him, and then you would actually say, that's right, and get your item back. Now this screen, there's no one to talk to, so we'll move forward. And again, he didn't pick my pocket because I didn't have either a potion or enough gil for him to just take some of my stuff, so he did nothing in my case. So we'll talk to Tifa here, which will help us move forward. I was never a fan of these flashing, annoying scenes. It's very seizure-inducing. So Tifa's going to jump off the train. Cloud's going to jump off, and then Barrett will as well. So if at any point you failed to move to the next screen, you'll simply get kicked out of the train a little bit earlier, and you'll have some more screens to move through. Now that we're finally off that godforsaken flashing screen, so this is actually a section of the game where, again, we can grind a little bit if we'd like to, but it's totally not necessary here. If you were to go back a few screens, you would eventually come across a dead end where there are some Shinra soldiers. You can continuously fight them over and over if you would like to, and they drop antidotes, and rarely they'll drop grenades. None of that's necessary, but within this screen, if you wanted to move around, you can actually find a number of enemies that drop anything from potions to antidotes and etc. But there is an enemy in here named a Grass Strike, which is kind of a bug-looking enemy, and they will affect you with a slow-inducing move. So they're kind of annoying to farm, and they have a rare drop of a spider web. The spider web is an item that is used on opponents in battle, and it actually inflicts them with slow. So it's actually extremely handy if you were to fight a tough boss, but you won't be fighting a tough boss for most of the beginning of the game, so I find it a little unnecessary to grind for that item. So I'm just going to push forward. Although I want you to be aware of it if you did want to take that route. So if you step over towards this hole, you'll have the option to try to squeeze down and go down this hole. And there's no coming back up. We're going to pick up the ether along the way, and we're going to head down. Now again, you can get in random encounters here as well, so I highly recommend having the Bolt All combination equipped, as all of the enemies that you'll fight within these areas, there's 2 different enemies that are weak to lightning, and actually 3 enemies, excuse me, that are weak to lightning, so it's extremely handy to have that one. Here we'll pick up this potion next to Jesse, and we'll move on. I'm actually surprised I haven't encountered a random battle yet. There we go. And so here, these are both enemies that are weak to Bolt. So we'll go ahead and do that. And you can see it just wipes out the whole room. Makes things nice and easy. Over here, we'll pick up the tent. And you can save if you'd like to. And we'll move forward. Now here, unlike the last time we were in the reactor, we'll need to slide down this tube and walk around these objects. And now we're back on the standard path. This time there will not be a potion here where Jesse was before, but we're going to head on down. Again, there's a save point where one was before. There's no need for me to use it. In this section, they actually do throw save points at you pretty quickly, so there's no need. So we're experiencing a little bit of a flashback here, where Tifa's father has been killed by Sephiroth. So we're going to go ahead and arm the bomb once again, and we're going to make our way out of the reactor. This time we do not have a detonation timer. And here is a great example of why Bolt All is definitely the best way to go. These enemies here are all weak to lightning as well, and there's a lot of them. So that's always great to see. Now we're going to head back up the way we did when we were in the first reactor. We can't go back up that tube that we slid down. But there's going to be an extra item and a little tiny mini game for us to play to make it out. So I'll go ahead and show you guys that. So here it's just more damaging and more beneficial for Cloud in this case to use Bolt anyway, even though these enemies aren't weak to it. These smogger enemies, the green fellows, they can drop a deadly waste item, which is really great. It's basically like poison on all enemies, but level 2 poison. It's really good if you get lucky enough to get one. I obviously didn't. And then you can see that there was a red version of the blue grunt from before. So the enemies are getting recolored and getting a little bit stronger as we go forward. Here again, we have another chance at the smogger. They can also poison your team like they did here, but don't worry, poison in this game only lasts for the battle, and if you can end the battle quickly, there's no point in healing it. Poison in this game also just ticks over time. It's not based on when you make turns or etc. So if you just sat there and never let Barrett make a turn, for example, he would have still taken poison damage over time. So it's pretty strong. Here we're going to go ahead and pick up the ether, and then we're going to move up here to this room. Now, this is actually the small mini game that we're going to play with Barrett and Tifa, and I'm not the best at this, so if I clip it, that's why. Basically, after you pass through this dialogue box, you'll have to wait about a second and a half and then press the select button again. This will then have a small delay, but all of the characters, their goal is to hit the button at the same time. They're on a fixed pattern, and you'll just kind of have to get a feel for the timing. But there's no pressure here. We're not wasting time or anything, so you can see I was early there. So even that was pretty darn close, but it's not going to give it to me. And there, that actually worked. So, as soon as we make it up here just a little bit further, go ahead and spin around from that back attack. We'll take out our enemies. So here is another save point before we fight a boss in this section. So before we do that, I just want to quickly show you guys how I like to prepare for the boss. So what I like to do is have, first of all, this boss, he's weak to electric, or lightning, I should say. So it is good to have a caster set up this way. So whenever this stuff happens, I just remove everybody's materia, rearrange it, and then we'll set it up. What's going to happen is Cloud is going to be separated from the trio, basically, and he's going to be on a different side of the fight. So your Restore All is only going to affect Barrett and Tifa. So what I like to do is have Barrett set up as a Restore All, because he's obviously Tifa can't have this combination, and this way we're at least getting 2-for-1 value on the Restore All. The boss is single target, so there's no point in having Bolt All for the boss. But because Barrett is set up to be our mage this fight, we're going to give him the Bolt, or Lightning materia as well. And then we're going to give everybody else just one damaging spell materia. So we'll give Tifa the Fire materia, and we'll give Cloud his Ice materia. So Tifa and Cloud are going to act as physical attackers, while Barrett is going to act as a mage. Now, because they're physical, I'm going to want them in the front row, and we'll kind of go over this here as we go into the boss fight. This is a pretty unique boss fight, and it's got some fun mechanics to it. So let's head forward here. So clearly we've been foiled, and they knew that we were coming. And this is actually the president of the Shinra Corporation himself. He speaks of Sephiroth in the past tense. So this is Airbuster. He's going to be our second boss. So, this boss is one of the only, if not the only boss in the entire game that's actually wedged between your party, so you can constantly get back attacks on this boss. The back attacks in this case do 500% damage, so if you can land a limit break into this boss's back, it's going to do ample damage. He does resist fire, and he's also weak to lightning, as we said before. So because we have his back here, first I want Tifa to make an attack. Then I'll have Barret use Bolt, and you can see that the boss actually turned around before Tifa got to use her attack. So she's actually not going to do back attack damage, and we'll queue up Cloud to follow suit. So if you do get a back attack chance, it's important that you make sure you wait for the boss to actually be facing a direction for your limit break attacks. So you can see that auto did 390. Now that he's given up his back, we'll have Barret do big shot in his back. And we'll wait and see what happens. So that did 849 and ended the fight on the spot. The only other things to consider about this boss fight is that he does have his big bomber move, which hits a single target pretty hard. So you do want to keep an eye on their HP and, you know, maybe keep them above 200 HP or so. You know, obviously with me being so over leveled too, I can just push through these fights because of all the grinding that I did before. And again, that's why I said if you guys think that you'd like to see me do these boss fights a little bit harder, just let me know. But we're going to take the Titan Bangle from defeating this boss, a better equipment, and we're going to continue. So here we see that Cloud is definitely in trouble, and we're going to get a dialogue option here. So we have the option to be strong, or we can say, I don't know if I can hold on. So if you say be strong, for example, it's a +2 to Barret. He likes that. But if you say I don't know if I can hold on, it's actually a -3 to Barret and a +1 to Tifa. So in this case, we're going to say I don't know if I can hold on. This game's not exactly politically correct anymore. So guys, that's actually going to be the end of this episode, and I will see you guys in the next episode.